Hey folks, it's the Red, and welcome to another installment of Red's Top 10. Having just completed my Banjo-Kazooie blind run, I can safely say that Gruntilda has been one of the toughest boss fights I've ever had to endure. But is it top 10 worthy? I don't know, but now seems like a good time to go over what is. Today I'd like to count down the top 10 toughest boss fights that gave me the biggest headache. I remember these bosses well for just how difficult of a time they gave me during my initial playthroughs of each of them. So what do you say we get right to it? Giant Moldor from Zelda: A Link to the Past. Maybe not the hardest fight ever, but certainly an annoying one. The trick to this fight is that the Moldor is moving around this platform trying to knock you off. You have to hit him at the tip of his tail to damage him. If you hit him anywhere else, you'll be knocked back. And every time you're knocked back, you are risking falling off the platform. You also get pretty heavily knocked back if he runs into you. And if you do fall off, you end up in the previous room, and then when you go back upstairs, he returns to full health, so you pretty much have to do the whole fight all over again. And with less health than what you came in with, to boot. Really annoying fight. Basically, don't be greedy, be an opportunist, that's how you're gonna win this fight. Okay, here's one that I'm sure many people are familiar with. Bubbler, also known as the Octopus from Diddy Kong Racing. Now, the footage I'm showing you here is from Diddy Kong Racing DS, but I've heard that he's just as bad or worse in the N64 version. For one thing, you have to conduct this race in the hovercraft, which in my opinion is one of the most difficult vehicles to control in the game. He's also faster than you, and that's really going to be a problem because you have to be ahead of him for 3 laps, and there's a lot of turning involved in this track. You need to utilize either the blue balloons for instant boosts right there, or, if you think you have good aim, try getting the multi-missile to try and slow him down so you can catch up. Just make sure you get every balloon you can. Because, yeah, this guy is a Class 5 cheater. But at least he's polite about it.
Tough luck, kid. Maybe next time. Come back whenever you're ready.
Sonic 2 for Game Gear I regard as one of the toughest games in the series, so appropriately one of the toughest bosses would be in this game as well. This one has a bit of a weird name, the Orijigoku Mecha, aka that boss with the pincers in the underground zone. You can't attack the boss directly, all you have to do is avoid these cannonballs that Robotnik is shooting at you from off screen. The balls will bounce over you and into the boss. A simple objective, but it's really easy to screw it up. As you may notice, you're doing this on a slope, and we all know how Sonic handles slopes. You also have no rings for this fight, so you have to do this without getting hit even once. But the biggest problem with this fight is the screen crunch. There's not a whole lot of time to react to when the balls are coming, so it's easy to misjudge whether you need to go under it or over it. Such a difficult fight, and this is the first boss in the game! Yeah, it's gonna get worse up ahead. But probably the biggest mystery about this fight is why you're having it in the first place. I mean, Eggman could just let you drop into the lava right here, but instead he saves you, airlifts you up to the boss to make you fight him. Why?
It just seemed like too simple of a way for him to go. Look, I've invested too much time and resources in the giant hedgehog-crushing robots just for him to go and die in lava.
Okay, for the sake of this top 10, I decided to use just one Robot Master from the Mega Man series. And trust me, I had no shortage of options, but in the end I decided to go with Burner Man from Mega Man and Bass. My god, this guy is a freaking spaz. He runs and jumps all over the place, he throws traps, he shoots fire waves in a nearly undodgeable pattern, and there's instant death spikes on both ends of his field. Yeah, there's nowhere to run and nowhere to hide in this fight. So how exactly do you handle this guy? Well, you can use his weakness, which is the ice wall, but it's really tough to hit him with it. First you have to place the wall and then push it into him when he's standing still, which barely happens during this fight. But yeah, if you push it into him, it'll knock him into the spikes for extra damage. Otherwise he'll just break through it and it'll do 1 damage. Trust me, it's harder to pull off than you might think. On top of that, you have no E-tanks for this fight because this game did not have E-tanks in it. I don't think they could have made this fight any harder if they tried. Taboo from Super Smash Bros. Brawl, the final boss of the Subspace Emissary. He sure makes Master Hand look like a joke. But I'm sure there would be those who would say, "Oh please, Red, this guy is so easy, how could anyone have a hard time with him?" I wish I could agree with you, I really do. But frankly, this guy has so many attacks that can kill you or put you near death. So many of his attacks do so much damage and are really hard to dodge, especially this one, the Red Rings of Death, appropriately named. They require 3 well-timed sidestep dodges, and if you miss even one of them, you're flying off the screen. It's not that he's unmanageable, it's just that it's really hard to do so. But appropriately enough, he is the final boss, so what do you expect? The evil magician Merasmus from Team Fortress 2, introduced during a Halloween update, is definitely one of the trickier bosses introduced in the game. He only appears on the lakeside map during Halloween, and he has an enormous amount of health, so much so that pretty much both teams need to cooperate in order to bring him down. He has a wide variety of attacks, from setting people on fire, launching them into the air, and barraging the field with bombs. It is said that the best way to handle Merasmus is to go with a huntsman sniper and shoot him in the head, but, yeah, I can't really aim with the sniper that well, so my typical preference is to go Brass Beast heavy. Once you get his health down to 50%, he'll go into a hiding mode, where a bunch of props will appear on the field and you have to shoot the item that he's hiding inside in order to continue the fight. By the way, you only have about 2 minutes to do this whole fight before he disappears and you lose. But if you beat him, you'll get a shiny new hat. But yeah, beating this guy will pretty much require the cooperation of both teams, which more often than not is really hard to do. And even if you do get everybody working together to beat this guy, you're not necessarily going to do it. He's just that hard. You've seen my pick for toughest Robot Master, now here's my pick for the toughest Fortress stage boss. Wily Machine 7 is something legendary. It shoots these 4 elemental energy balls at you. One of them will shock you, one of them will freeze you, and one of them will catch you on fire. And he follows it immediately with a shock to the ground. All of this stuff that he's shooting at you is really hard to dodge, and while you are doing so, you have to get a shot in yourself. Charging your buster will be required for this fight, because charged buster shots do 1 point of damage. An uncharged shot will not do anything. Or you could just use his weakness, the Wild Coil, but that could be a little tricky to hit him with. It will require you to be right up in his face most of the time because of the way it bounces. Oh, get down here, you pest! I can't hit you from up there! The Thunderbird from Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link. Now here is a fight that will really put you to the test. It is one of the 2 final bosses you face in the game at the end of the Great Palace. Before you can even start damaging this thing, you have to cast the Thunder spell to turn it blue, and then you can start damaging him. Bear in mind that the Thunder spell requires a lot of magic, and I have all of the magic containers and all of the magic upgrades. I cast Thunder and I lose half of all my magic, and I still need to get some more spells going here. I'm gonna need a jump spell so that I can reach him, a shield spell because he hits really hard, so I want to suppress as much damage as I can, and a reflect spell so I have a chance to stop those fireballs. By the end of all this, I barely have anything left. Certainly not enough for a life refill at any point, so you need to do this in 1 life bar as well. You know you have a really tough fight on your hands when you need maxed out stats just to stand a chance. Seriously, do not come here if you are not fully upgraded. And to think, there's another tough fight right behind this one. The Shredder from Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game for the NES. This guy is cheap, even by arcade standards. First, he splits himself into clones, You have to try and find the real one while he's hacking and slashing at you with his sword, which, by the way, does a great deal of damage. But also, he's got this demutation beam that will one-hit kill you if it hits you. That's right, one hit and you're toast. This isn't so much of an issue in the arcade game, where you can not only play with your friends, but you can pretty much muscle through him as long as you have enough money in your pocket. Your strength is measured by your wallet. But in the NES version, you do have a limit on the number of lives you actually have, and given that you had 2 tough fights leading up to this one, yeah, this could be a really hectic fight. Okay, we've seen some pretty powerful bosses, we've seen some pretty tricky bosses, but which one takes the cake? We'll know in a moment, but first a quick recap. Number 10, Giant Moldor. Number 9, Bubbler. Number 8, Orijigoku Mecha. Number 7, Burner Man. Number 6, Taboo. Number 5, Merasmus. Number 4, Wily Machine 7. Number 3, Thunderbird. And number 2, the Shredder. They were all pretty tough fights, but none of them compare to this next one. Mike Tyson from Punch-Out for the NES, or you can go with his politically correct name, Mr. Dream. Yeah, this guy has a bit of a reputation, doesn't he? It only took a few rounds with him for me to realize that, yeah, he's not going down. Just how tough is he? Well, let's go down the checklist. Rocket fast attacks? Check. One-hit knockdown attacks? Check. Small counterattack opportunities? Check. All the pieces are in place to make this the toughest boss I have ever encountered. I suppose there's a good reason so few people have actually beaten him without cheating. So if you are one of those few people who actually beat him, my hat's off to you. You're a better gamer than I could ever be.
Tough luck, kid. Maybe next time. Come back whenever you're ready.